so now the car is fully broken in. We're gonna go for a little ride. You may have seen my break-in video. I went for, you know, drives in that a little bit, but this is more of the car is fully tuned. We're on E85, just kind of a ride along. Okay, a couple things I noticed from this build version, if you will, and my previous build. So I have that motor now as a spare, but previously I had a version 8 STI motor in this, and now it's got the version 8 heads, but more of like a later version, like a version 10 plus block, so the thicker cylinder walls. I've gone over that in other videos. So basically everything's brand new though. The only modifications that are different besides that, besides the engine block, are the GSC S1 cams and a Tomei header. And the reason I got the cams first was because I needed STI Spec C cams, which are what the version 8 runs, or the version 8 cams, and those are incredibly expensive. And I wanted to have my spare set, so I didn't want to reuse the ones that I had. So I just went with a mild S1 cam. It's not really a performance modification, but because they were cheaper and they're brand new and maybe give me a little bit of power. The other thing was the Tomei header, and the reason I got a new equal length Tomei header, I mean it was already an equal length header because this is twin scroll. The reason I got that was because I needed to clear the IAG oil pan. So I went to an IAG oil pan, which is not really a performance modification, it's more of a longevity one. But with that IAG oil pan, the stock headers wouldn't fit. So those were the two changes. And with those two changes, I noticed a couple things. So the first change was that, well, it's not really a change so much, it's slightly more power. And when I say slightly more power, the power ended up being output-wise about the same as my other motor, about on 22 PSI, about 420 horsepower. I like to tune it down though to about 20 and run right around 400, 390 or 400 horsepower. The reason I say it was slightly more horsepower though was because we did it on lower PSI, we did it on low boost. We had to go up to 24 PSI on my previous build to get that same amount of power. The other thing is the torque. I gained a little bit more torque in the mid-range, and headers will kind of do that, right? They'll bring on a little bit more mid-range sometimes and a little bit more top end. Cams will also help with both. These are very mild cams, so it wasn't like I was really shifting the curve or anything like that. It's kind of, if I look at the graphs side by side, it's very similar, just a slight little boost with using less boost pressure. The problem, or not really so much a problem, as I'm realizing the extent or the capabilities of this turbo. And right now it's pretty much maxed out. And the reason I know that is because now boost is tapering off. I mean, I don't know if it's the turbo that's running out of juice or just pressure, or because of the cams giving more air, exhaust air, and the headers obviously are bigger diameter headers, so there's a lot more air going into that VF turbo hot side that again was already kind of a choke point, because this VF upgrade that I have it's still a VF turbo housing, it's just a G25 wheel turbine shoved inside. So we realized the max of this turbo is kind of like 420. It's kind of like max, which is more than enough for this especially. This car weighs about 2650, 2700 pounds. I'm like full tank of gas, like with me in it, closer to like 2800 pounds, but it's incredibly light. So 420 horsepower is a crazy amount for what this is. It's a lot. Not complaining, I don't want more. But we noticed that, again, the boost was kind of tapering off from about 22 to about 17 and a half, 18 PSI at redline. Before, with the older headers, it was holding 20 PSI all the way, 22 PSI the entire time. And the builder of the turbo suggested that possibly it's the headers being a larger diameter, trying to just back pressure a whole shit tons of air, and then kind of a choke point once you get to the hot side. If I ran kind of smaller, was able to go back to the stock headers, With the smaller diameter, I would be able to hold that boost for longer. And what that wouldn't do, it wouldn't give me more power per se, but what it would do is it would keep the power going for longer. So basically the power plateaus, and then as I'm going from 7K to 8K, the power kind of teeters off. So we lose about like 50 horsepower from about 7,000 to 8,000 RPMs, which isn't a huge deal. It was doing that before. However, with KMs, obviously they would be allowing more power at the high end. So if I could hold that boost, the power would it wouldn't keep going up, it would just kind of plateau. So we'd hit 420 and it would stay at 420 the whole way, as opposed to tapering off to about 360 or 350, which is, again, these are little things that are like, anyone that would, you're not going to notice that when you're driving the car. You're not like feeling the power drop off or it's nothing like that. It's crazy. And we will kind of take it for a little bit of a pull here in a second. Downshift here, and we'll go into going to the highway maybe with a little bit more speed. Going about 40, I'm going to downshift into third, and we'll do that. We'll do kind of that 40 to 80 pull. Kind of monitor the gauges with me here, but slower shift, everything looks great. The only thing I can see doing in the future, possibly, and I've heard good and I've heard bad, is the carbon fiber drive shaft. And the reason I would do that is obviously it's rotating mass. I'm big on lightening the car. The problem is they're incredibly expensive. They're like $1,200 for the drive shaft, which is a lot of money to save, maybe 10 to 12 pounds of rotating mass. That they have very bad vibrational issues above like 60, 70 miles an hour, which is not, I mean, I don't really drive this car a lot on the street. You're seeing me do it now, but it doesn't happen that often, so that's not a huge concern. But that may be the modification that I do on the engineer drivetrain. That would be the only thing that would really happen there. For the most part, it would be, I'm going to do a few more track sessions, feel these brakes out, but probably upgrading the calipers and rotors, and then the tires. I already have the RE71 RSs, but I feel like the size that I got probably wasn't the best for the track, or for my specific wheel setup. So I have 17x8 RPF 1s, and I got 245 tires. So those are pretty thick tires, and there's going to be a lot of like basically bubbling, and the sidewall kind of rolls over every turn. So when I say upgrade the tires, I basically mean just get some 225s as opposed to 245s, because you want it to be kind of a stiffer sidewall. You don't want it to really be it's great for feeling on the straight, but it isn't really a performance aspect. You're kind of losing out on that. So that was one thing I kind of got those 245s, 245/40 17s for kind of a deal. They were brand new, but it was still like a deal. But I'll probably end up, they only have like probably 5 miles on them. I'll probably end up selling those and then just getting some 225s, 45, or 225, 45, 17s. So again, brakes, tires, those are just like kind of more maintenance items, and then just upkeep of the motor. Everything looks good. I can't think of anything else that I really need to do. I'm bored at this point. My wife said, or she thinks I'm going to buy another car. I don't think that I'll do that. I think that I'll keep going with this one. When she says buy another car, keep this one obviously, but just to satisfy the urge to modify something. But I feel like right now everything's looking really good, and I'm kind of be honest, with the Subaru you kind of always are. You're waiting for the other, especially when you work at it yourself. Sometimes you're waiting for the other shoe to drop just because something always goes wrong. So in this case, it's been, I have 1,200 miles, probably see that here, 1,200 miles on the odometer right now. So it's been over like 1,200 miles of, and I started kind of tuning it at around the 750, 800 mark. So it's been about 400 miles, almost 500 miles of, just not dogging on it, but, doing pulls. So I know it's good, checking everything's for leaks, everything looks good. And now the next step would just be, just maintenance. So here we'll do a quick pull. See, I'm on 77% ethanol. So I'll start at about 3.5 or 4. So that's kind of when the turbo fully spools, so you can kind of see it. Starting at 40. It definitely has the juice that you need to do whatever you want. It's definitely a fun toy. Puts a smile on my face every time. And it is very, very loud. You definitely hear it coming from a mile away. I changed the exhaust out. I'm always changing the exhaust out. I have a bunch of different exhaust variations. And right now what I'm running is the Blitz Spec or Spec Nern, whatever it is, which is a louder exhaust. It's definitely a little bit louder. The mid-pipe, I did put a resonator in, so I'm kind of like utilizing a different mid-pipe to kind of quiet it down a little bit coming out the back, but this car has no sound deadening. As you can see, it's pretty much stripped, with the exception of the front dash, so. But all in all, I'm very happy with how things worked out. We're definitely adding to the total of how much we spent on the car, because the motor, I didn't really spare any expense. A lot of money was put into I wanted to make everything new, because I figured while the motor's new, I might as well make everything else new, and I didn't skimp out on those big pieces either. If I could buy OEM or a equivalent aftermarket part that was more expensive, I would go with the aftermarket part that was more expensive. So a lot of RCM stuff, Roger Clark Motorsports, which is pretty expensive stuff, but it's better. So they really know what they've been in the Subaru game for like 30 years, so they really know what they're doing. And just a lot of like little pieces here or there that I didn't necessarily need, but I was like, I don't want to go back and redo it. I say it made the same amount of power, and again, this motor makes the same amount of power, but on 2 or 3 less PSI. I say that car was tuned though in December/January of last year. And right now it's unseasonably in the Seattle area warm, so it's like it was about 70, mid-70s when I was tuning it. It's a little bit cooler today. It's like 65, 60%, almost 70. But when I tuned the other motor and I got that horsepower number from those data logs, it was like 25 or 30 out. So we're talking almost like a 40-degree swing. So when I say they make the same amount of power, I kind of got to measure and run a data log and see what kind of power I'm making when it's like 30 degrees out to do really a true comparison of the power. There are a bunch of different things in play, and I can use virtual dyno to kind of use like the SAE settings and kind of change the temperature and give me a horsepower readout based on that. But it's more realistic to actually go out when it's like, 30 degrees out and see what it actually hits and does. So. Either way, well, thanks for watching the video up until this point.